What is a secure life, and why are we often so certain that it is unattainable? We frequently look at our past, our childhood experiences, or our previous failed relationships and assume that our path is already set in stone. We believe that if we didn't start off with the perfect setup, we are somehow destined to struggle with instability forever. But what if that is just a misconception? What if a secure life isn't a destination you arrive at, but a state of being you can build, regardless of where you started? The concept of a secure life is rooted in attachment theory. Decades ago, researchers began studying how children regulate their emotions based on their bonds with caregivers. They observed that some children felt comfortable exploring their environment, knowing they could return to a safe base when distressed. These children were classified as having a secure attachment. Others, however, struggled. Some were deeply anxious, finding it difficult to calm down even when comforted, while others appeared avoidant, seemingly blocking out their needs to cope with the stress of the situation. For a long time, we viewed these attachment styles as rigid, perhaps even pathological labels. We used them to explain why someone might be too sensitive or too distant. But this is a limited medicalized view. In reality, these are simply variations in human behavior. Being anxious or avoidant isn't a sickness. It is a way of adapting to one's environment. Just as people differ in height or physical build, we differ in how we navigate social intimacy and potential threats. If we shift our perspective from asking, "Is this person healthy or sick?" to asking, "Is this behavior effective or ineffective in my current life?" we gain the power to change our trajectory. This realization is profoundly empowering. Research shows that our childhood attachment style does not strictly dictate our adult relationships. We are deeply social creatures. Our ability to collaborate and form bonds is our greatest evolutionary advantage. Because we are so adaptable, it makes sense that our attachment style is not a fixed trait. It is malleable. We can change. We can learn to reinterpret our past, and more importantly, rewrite the way we process current emotional information. Think of this process like learning to use a new tool. If you have an anxious attachment style, you might perceive yourself as too sensitive or constantly in need of reassurance. You might see this as a liability. However, that sensitivity is actually a superpower. You have a heightened ability to pick up on cues, shifts, and nuances in your environment that others might completely miss. You are an orchid, highly sensitive, perhaps more challenging to raise or maintain, but capable of blooming in spectacular ways when you are in the right environment. Instead of trying to eliminate this sensitivity, the goal is to position it where it serves you, such as in analytical work or roles that require deep observation and empathy. On the other hand, if you lean toward avoidant tendencies, you might pride yourself on self-reliance. Yet, you may struggle to utilize the support of others to help you regulate your emotions. Here, the goal isn't to force yourself to become a different person, but to learn how to play to your strengths while finding ways to incorporate the missing pieces, like learning to lean on others when the situation calls for it, rather than shutting down. True security comes from realizing that we don't need to be perfect to be worthy. When we feel secure in who we are, we develop a sort of resilient bubble. We become less susceptible to the pressures of consumerism and social media, because we aren't looking for products or validation to fill a void in our hearts. We stop trying to achieve our way into worthiness. So, how do we get there? It starts with secure priming. This involves surrounding yourself with people who offer a secure perspective, and eventually, internalizing that perspective. When you encounter a stressful event, perhaps a vague text message from a partner or a difficult interaction at work, your initial, knee-jerk reaction might be to assume the worst. But if you practice shifting your perspective, you can pause. You can ask yourself, is there another way to interpret this? When you interact with secure individuals, you can borrow their calm perspective, using it to regulate your own emotions until that way of thinking becomes your new default. Ultimately, you don't necessarily need to spend years excavating every single memory from your childhood to fix your present. You can change your past by changing how you relate to it in the here and now. When you look back at past events from a place of security, the meaning of those memories shifts. You disrupt the old painful neural pathways and create new ones. You are not trapped by your history, You are an architect of your future. We are social, flexible, and capable of profound change throughout our entire lives. By understanding your own attachment style, not as a label of limitation, but as a map of your current tendencies, you can learn to work with your unique nature, lean into your strengths, and cultivate the deep, supportive relationships that make a truly secure life possible. Like and subscribe for more cognitive insights. Have a nice day.